Hey everyone, welcome to another Zoom video interview here on Direct Motocross. Billy Rainford here with another one. We were thinking about people we could talk with, trying to have some fun here in this coronavirus shutdown. And I thought, what about our old friend Disco Stu, Adam Robinson here? So we've got Adam. He's been kind enough to come on here and have a chat with us. He's got all kinds of new things going on, and we'll bring him on now. Hey, Adam. Hey, man. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Hey, thanks, Billy, for having me on. Good to see you and chat a little bit.
Yeah. Where it looks like we might have you in your kitchen. What are you up to? Where are you?
I'm in the kitchen, you bet. I just finished, let me see, run down the list. Cleaning the house, getting the kids ready for lunch, making sure they ate their lunch, and then cleaning up after lunch. And I got no further than the kitchen. So here we are.
As you know, what's funny is I'm up here at my mom's place. You can see the little canal back there in the background here in Lagoon City. But I go for bike rides all the time around, down by the lakeshore and stuff. And I was out for a ride, and a lady literally came out, took one little stick off of her driveway, and went back in the house. I'm like, wow, we have run out of things to do, man. Everything is spotless.
I know it. I know it. We're pretty busy up here. I mean, we moved about an hour and 20 minutes north of Kingston last March, so a year ago last March, and we're on 40 acres here. We're lakeside, and man, there's lots to do. There's obviously business, which we'll get into in a little bit. There's all kinds of yard work. We've got some rental units and housing and stuff that we rent out. We've got some great tenants, and so there's always stuff to do, whether it be raking leaves, cutting trees, moving this, doing that. There's lots to do, and looking after two kids, which you're going to see here in a second because it looks like they're trying to come in the door. What's up?
Oh, we're gonna keep rolling. I love this crap when it goes sideways. Hey, what does Kashwakamak mean behind you?
I don't know what the meaning is. That's what the lake is called. We're on Lake Kashwakamak, which is in North Frontenac. And the lake it's a part of the Mississippi River system, and it gets fed by the Mazenau, which is near what Bonneco Park is on, that lake. So it's a whole kind of multi-lake area. Lots of cottage country. It's not quite the Muskokas, but it's pretty cool. Our population more than doubles in the summertime. Maybe not this year, but it's a gorgeous area. I mean, if a guy feels like he's hit early retirement, this is it.
Nice. Now, what's the closest little town you're to you?
So we are closest to Northbrook and Cloyne. Northbrook has a little more, which is where my wife grew up. Actually, her parents owned a construction company there, building company. And so Northbrook is kind of the bigger town. Cloyne is where our kids go to school. We're kind of right in the middle. It's kind of 8-10 minutes either way. So yeah, there's lots to go. If you want to go shopping, do this, that, the other, you can go to Northbrook or Cloyne, either one. So there's plenty around, but we're in the bush far enough, if you want to call it, where we don't have to leave that often. So it's nice.
Nice. Now, you mentioned the Mississippi River system and things like that. Now, for anybody listening south of the border, I was surprised when I took Highway 7, from around here, cutting across to Ottawa, that you crossed a Mississippi River. But obviously, it must be some kind of a different Mississippi River, because the other one, the headwaters are up in like northern Minnesota and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm not super up to speed and familiar and all that, which I should be, and maybe as time goes on, I'll learn more and more. But yeah, anyway, it's a long lake, 14 miles long, kind of narrow, so it's super pretty just to go and load the family in the boat after supper and do a quick tour up and back, because I leave the boat in the water all summer, so it's pretty cool. It's a nice area.
Nice. Yeah, man. I mean, I haven't spent a whole lot of time up here, but every time I drive like northeast of Toronto, like off the 401 north of it, I wonder why everybody doesn't live up in that area or this area. It's beautiful up here.
I know. You know what? I think and again, we've had a lot of time to reflect with all these shutdowns and lockdowns and everything else. And I think, and we talked about it, it's just a lot of people are where they are because of necessity. A lot of people are where they are because it's so super tough with day to day and life in general to look outside the big picture even further and be like, why are we stuck here? That's what we did. We talked about, where we were previous to living here, and great little town, farm town, just west of Lindsay. And, shoot, why are we here? You know what I mean? So that whole conversation sparked an interest, and yeah, here we are. We ended up in what we call God's country, and I don't see us leaving anytime soon.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm actually not far from Lindsay right now. Where did you actually grow up as a kid and everything?
So I grew up most of my life in Mount Albert, which is now unrecognizable because of the housing market, the city moving north. It's still a small town in its core, but anyway, I grew up in Mount Albert. Went to public school in Mount Albert, and then went to high school in Newmarket. When I started high school, they just opened Dr. Denison, which is up near Young Street, up near Silver City anyway, Newmarket. So that area has changed a ton too. It's not the same as it used to be. But anyway, so went to high school in Newmarket, and then kind of moved here and there, moved back to Mount Albert after high school for a bit. And then, moved to, where did I move to after there? Kind of been all over the place.
Hey, I've got to ask you, most famous motocrosser, fastest guy to ever come from Mount Albert?
Doug Hoover.
Ah, the sweeper.
We actually lived, it's cool. I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't thinking about that. We grew up in the house right beside Doug and his parents. So I tell you, as a kid, whenever we moved there, I think I was 7 or 8 motorcycles. What? They couldn't keep us out of the shop. And we were always sneaking over after, in the afternoons after school to hang out at his race shop when we were allowed to. And man, that's what bit the motovbug that bit me. And that we went to my first race my parents took me to watch was in '85 at Coketown. And man, I was hooked ever since. I haven't been able to get away from it. I've tried for obvious reasons here and there, but it's in you, it's in you. And that was the reason why I got bit by the bug, was living beside Doug.
Cool, man. Do you remember a weird lanky guy on a weird Can-Am motorcycle racing? Looked a lot like this guy, 1985, Coketown.
Love to tell you, yeah, I was just a little kid, and I was so excited back then. And man, I wish after all this time goes by and you go here and there and you do this and that, and I wish that awe and what kind of scratches at your surface about, oh my gosh, dirt bikes was still around a little bit. You know what I mean? Because that's all we cared about back then, was the sound of them, the roofs, the just being near them was good enough. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how, like, I look back and, whenever anybody asks my origin story, it's like the dude across the street. I remember I could sit and watch him wash his Suzuki bike with a hose didn't even have a nozzle on it. There's just something about washing a dirt bike and stuff. I just loved it. I was just, it just hooked me. Crazy. So, okay. So you mentioned most people there start in riding and motocross and stuff has like to do with a parent or something, but was yours Doug Hoover, or was it, did somebody race? How did you get into it?
Yeah, like I said, we live beside it and we're exposed to it day to day. You could hear his practice bikes and when he was riding up at the farm behind us. And my parents bought us little trail bikes. They wouldn't let us race. My dad was terrified of us getting hurt. So we just trail rode and poked around in the bush. And as soon as I was old enough, turned 18, I went out and bought an '85 CR125. And I think why I bought that old lunker then was because those are the bikes Doug rode, I think, right around that time. And man, it just stuck in my mind. So I'm like, I got to get this bike. So anyway, I bought an '85 CR125 and rode it around and never did the air filter, never changed the oil, and just was in heaven. So yeah, I started at 18, which is pretty young. And I don't know, I wish I could have started younger, but yeah, here we are.
That's amazing. Okay, so so you got that bike and everything, and you did some racing and everything? What's your racing history?
My first race was in '94 at the Oval Sales Barn. I don't know if you remember CMC. Mark had CMC back then. It wasn't even CMRC yet. And they did my first race was right behind the Stovall Sales Barn that year. And did a bunch. So I started racing in '94 and raced till about 2005. I got hurt pretty bad in '99 and took a little bit of time off, had knee surgery, had a couple concussions, and actually won the 250 junior provincial title that year. Yeah.
Wow.
And I missed the pressure washers though. Remember they used to give those Karcher pressure washers away. I missed it. That was the first year they stopped doing it. So that was cool. And yeah, anyway, so raced till about 2005-ish. And I rode for a little bit after that. Nelson from Machine would lend me a bike here and there whenever I wanted to go riding. But yeah, so.
Okay, how far up did you make it in classes?
Intermediate. Yep. I turned intermediate in the spring of '99 and bought two YZs. I bought a 125 and I had a brand new, I might have had two 99s, 125 and 250. Anyway, I got hurt. Walton used to have those supercrosses on Friday night. I don't know if they had them for very long. Anyway, I went to there and got hurt. There was a jump in that spring of '99 that I was terrified to do. And I was being a wuss and I should have jumped it. It was like a really short, straight up takeoff and a step up. So I was like, I'm not jumping this thing. So if I get a good start, I'm going to push wide and let everyone go around. But lo and behold, got a good start and someone went just a little wider than I did. He jumped it, I didn't, and landed on my foot peg, my left foot peg, and just crushed my foot. So it was over from there. I didn't ride or race too much since then. The odd vet race here and there, but
That's awesome. I got to ask you my favorite question. What was your first race number? Like, how did you choose your first race number? What's the history?
first race number was 497, and the 85 CR125 I bought had that number on it.
What? Jeff Rustin.
Hey?
Jeff Rustin.
Oh, is that who that was? Well, he probably made it more famous than I did.
Let's see who this is out of the woodwork.
I might have crashed a little more than he did, but anyway.
I'll have to dig out an old photo of him. I have an old photo of him at Acton Raceway, old Leathertown there on the 80s.
Cool.
Wow, that's weird. Okay, so those were kind of your racing highlights. I guess you kind of went over. It's always fun to talk about. I mean, not everybody's a top pro rider, but it's funny what we remember. You know what I mean? And we were all probably faster than we. I think we were faster than we were, or whatever. Right? It's always kind of fun to talk about stuff. But who did you? Who were you battling back? Name some guys you were racing.
In '98, when I won the 250 junior title, I battled with a guy named Scott Todd, who was a machine racing crew regular back then. I battled with Jason Burke's uncle. His name was Mark. Those are the two guys that probably gave me the most fits. Ian Hayden, actually, he won the 125 provincial title that year in junior class, and thank Christ he didn't race 250s, or I wouldn't have been anywhere close to the front. But so yeah, those two guys, Scott Todd and Mark Burke, probably were the two guys that I rubbed fenders with the most.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully we just drag them out. A friend of theirs will watch this and see it and tag them or something like that. It's always kind of fun to see who comes out of the woodwork. It's good.
It's so hard. I'm sure there was more, but you're just not even thinking about that kind of thing back, in those days for me anyway. So it was fun. It was a challenge, and obviously we always wished you did better, but yeah, it was fun.
All right. Now then, you went off, what'd you go off to, Fleming? What'd you go to school for and all that kind of stuff? I mean, let's get to, somehow you transitioned into mechanic and stuff. So where'd this all happen?
Well, I started, working in a small engine shop in, 92 or 93, maybe even younger. Anyway, I liked mechanics and working with my hands and that kind of thing. And so I worked at a small engine shop at that time, and then went to college for small engine repair to get my ticket. And like a dumbass, I said, I'll write the test after. After I graduated, I said, I'll write the test after. And so I went to Florida for 2 winters, and yeah, never did write the test. So I don't know if it would have made much of a difference looking back, but yeah. So that's how I got into the mechanical part of it. And then in '97, I've been kind of hanging around the machine racing store and shop for a little bit, as much as I could, as much as they'd allow me to, being a nobody. And then Nelson called me in the spring of '97, no, fall of '97, October. And I went to work at Machine, and I worked there for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I worked for him from '97 to '07, almost 10 years on the dot. And then from there, I went to work for Andre at OTSFF, which was then Suzuki's. And I was with him for almost a decade too.
Okay. Hey, I remember Ian Hayden was involved back then too. Did you guys talk about your battles, or did he not know who number 497 was?
I don't know that he knew who I was. He was on a different then, even as an amateur. I mean, he was always one of the the it guys, and had that skill and speed, and just naturally talented. I think if I had rode the 125 class, I probably would have been mid-pack at best. It just seemed back then that the 250 class was, I don't know, there just wasn't the higher level of talent in it. Not to discredit that class, but that's just how it was.
Right now, if there's anything more Canadian than what's going on behind me right now, I don't know. I don't know what is. We got a couple geese here behind, or literally like 15 feet away from me. But, okay, so who was your when you first started riding with working for OTSFF? Who were your guys?
So Andre hired me in '07 to work for Mitch Cook, and Mitch was slated to, come into the season in '07 and do some damage. I mean, he trained hard, worked hard, was working with Giorgio Bay in the off season, and man, that guy had some serious. He always had speed, but he was putting in a ton of extra effort, and if he hadn't got injured, probably would have won a lot of races that year. So anyway, I worked for him for the time that he was around in '07. And then once he got hurt, which was in Calgary that year, I kind of bounced around. I actually worked for Jolene, I think, for a couple of weekends. And then I got to work with Gray Davenport, who I don't know if you remember him. He's a really good arena cross. Yeah, so '07, that was that. And then '08, I worked for Mitch again at the start of the season. And then I don't really remember I don't really remember too much of how that season went, to be honest with you. It was all a bit of a blur.
Okay, all right. So how many different teams have you been with, if we went over the years here?
Not too many. I was with Machine when they were, it was when Machine was around and Nelson was throttle on with his racing efforts. It was he and Ron from Two Wheel. They were kind of the two programs that were cleaning up provincially and nationally. So Machine Racing is where I got my start, and man, those days were fun. It was so much different, and I don't want to use the word better. It was just different, and there was just more of a warm and fuzzy feel. So I was with them for a long time. Worked for Chuck Mesley for 2 seasons. We had a hoot. He won some. I don't know if he won too much. I think he won a few motos here and there, but ended up doing well overall. And then worked for Mike Island just before that, and actually worked for Galdi for a season in '99. I was his mechanic when he did good there that year. So I got to work for a bunch of different machine guys. I actually started, the first guy I ever worked for was Pomeroy.
Oh, no way.
At the start of the '99 season, I started working for him, and he crashed. I think it was at RJ's, which we called Farrington's back then. Farrington's MX Park. And anyway, he got hurt, and then I got moved over to Galdi, and the rest was history.
Okay.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I got off the topic there. So Machine Racing is the first team, we'll call it, because they were a legitimate team back then. And then I went to work for Andre, and really that's the only two full-fledged, teams with any kind of history that I worked for. Worked with another team the last few years, based out of Kitchener there, but those Machine and Andre's teams were kind of the big heavy platforms that I worked for.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so then, do you want to throw anybody under the bus or glorify anyone? Best and worst riders you ever worked with? Come on, I dare you.
I wouldn't say worst. I've worked just different. I've worked with Tyler Medallia. I mean, I got to work with him at some capacity or another, right when he first turned pro. I did suspension for him, not that first year because Pro Action did it, but in '08 till he moved to Blackfoot, I did suspension for him. So I've got to work with him since he turned professional, and the last 3 years actually have been fortunate enough to work with him too. So it's been a really cool story. He was one of my favorites in just his outlook, his work ethic, his personality. Race results are race results. It's tough to base a guy on the race results, but in terms of just a guy that I'm gonna be friends with that dude 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, he's that guy. He's a good dude. He was probably one of my favorites. I worked with Bob Canary from 2010 to 2015 when he retired, and man, me and Bob clicked right away. He's one of those guys that he thrived on having someone at the track that could watch him, give him suggestions on the motorcycle, dive in and fix the thing if it wasn't working right. And we had some good races. We had some shitty races, but we had some good races. And I'd actually talked to Bob this morning on the phone for a little bit. So we still keep in touch here and there. He was one of my favorites. He's actually the first guy, Bob, is that I worked with that had come from that upper level of US racing, that had, been around factory teams or factory level teams, had good suspension support, worked with some clicked on dudes. And I learned a ton working with him. Canadian guys as a rule back then didn't really have that. The guys I worked with anyway didn't have the background or the ability to just grind out and test and know exactly what they wanted in a dirt bike. And boy, whether it was right or wrong, he knew what he was looking for. Bob did. So yeah, that was cool. That was an opportunity to work with him that I'm thankful for. Who else?
Who gave you trouble? Come on.
Bob. Yeah, he was the best guy to work for, and he was the biggest pain in the ass to work for. And we've joked about it over the last, number of years. He goes, man, I should have listened to you. Maybe we should have run that spring or this spring. And he goes, nah, but yeah, I just like that other one anyway. So yeah, he was the biggest pain in my butt, and he was the best guy to work for. So it was a challenge working with him, but I enjoyed it. It always kept you going to the racetrack, getting ready to search for that next piece. Yeah,
that's fun. And now he's a full-on high security prison guard, man. He's got some stories, huh?
I wouldn't want to be on the business end of him charging at you. That's for sure.
He'd smile at you the whole time he was doing it, though.
Oh yeah, he sure would. But there's been a lot of other great guys. Not to drop names or whatever, but worked with Kyle Chisholm. Worked with Matt Gorky, obviously. I really enjoyed working with Matt. I feel like we clicked right away. And had some good success. 2015, we won that championship together, and had good success the next year in 16. Worked with, man, there's a long list of guys. I mean, my favorites though, and the guys that stick out in my mind that had a big impact on me personally and career-wise would be Bob, Tyler, Matt. Those are some really good dudes. SnowCross, away from the dirt bike world, I got to work with, I was fortunate enough to work with Ian Hayden for, man, what felt like a long time. We had some good years together, won a lot of races, learned a ton from him. Another guy that knows what he wants for setup, and is willing to stay there from sun up to sundown, to grind it out and get it right. So it was good.
Now, speaking of SnowCross, are you allowed to tell the story about how you met your wife, Sonia?
Yep. So I had just recently got my relationship status changed in 2008, Christmas 2008, and I was on the road from October till April from 2004. I went to the US to work in the snowcross world till 2009 is when we stopped traveling to the US full time for racing. And it was Horseshoe Valley, 2008, typical last race of the season, typical trailer parties and all. And I don't remember how we did that day. It doesn't matter. That 4-stroke was fast up the hill, so it was cool either way. And yeah, we were leaving the trailer party. Things were looking pretty bleak for the boys, so we we were looking to head back to our chalet. We were staying up on top of the hill, which is pretty nice digs and stuff. And saw these two girls leaving the trailer, and we're chit-chatted with them earlier in the night, and I just opened the van door. I said, hey, you girls need a ride anywhere? And literally 12 years later, we haven't missed a week hanging out with each other. So yeah, it's kind of a neat story.
I remember she told it to me, I think, a couple of years ago at the Horseshoe Valley event. She had some other details, but yeah, it's fun. They were pretty fun. Pretty good story.
It was cool. We started, we chit-chatted that night or that weekend or whatever. And I came up here. I think I might've gone to Kingston. It doesn't matter, either here or Kingston, to hang out again. And we literally, I've seen her since that first time we came up. Me and a buddy drove up to, go out for the weekend or whatever. party and have a couple of drinks. And yeah, we've been hanging out literally ever since.
Ah, that's great. Now,
In together, and everyone, I mean everyone except for us, I guess, thought we were completely nuts, but we moved in together. So that was in April. We moved in together by the Gopher Dunes weekend, which was beginning of June, but when you know, you know.
now she was a fast snowcross racer herself, right?
Yeah, she had some good success in the U.S. in the Rock. What was then I think the Rock Maple Circuit. She won the Pro Women's Championship that year. So that was kind of cool. We had obviously huge common interests in snowmobile racing, and she had dirt bikes, and yeah, just a ton of common interests.
Okay, now quick question: what was your first tattoo?
Oh boy, I don't know if I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So back in the early 2000s, tattoos on your lower back were cool.
Oh.
So that was my first one, 2002. And I blame Mesley for that because he was one of the cool cats back then, and he had one on his lower back. A bunch of other guys did. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get that. That looks cool. And I don't know, maybe I probably wouldn't have if I had to do it all over again.
What does it say?
My initials, AFR.
AFR, the tramp stamp.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's fondly referred to as, but it's there, so it's there till the end.
That's amazing. The best one I ever saw was at Washougal back in like, I don't know, 04 or something like that. A girl had motocross handlebars on the lower back.
Oh boy, that's risky.
Yeah, that's risky. I got the photo. I'm gonna dig that photo out too. But okay.
Hey, it was cool back then. The blonde, well, what started as like pineapple colored hair and then morphed into frosted tips. It was all cool back then, man. The 90s and 2000s ruled.
Yeah, the two earrings going, the big thick.
Oh, yeah, you had to. You couldn't go to a dirt bike track without those. Come on.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Uh,
Okay, now how about this one too? Tell us the who coined Disco Stew.
Nelson, John Nelson. He had nicknames for, I think, everyone. He had nicknames for his kids, his wife, the dog if he had one. He had nicknames for everyone. So in '97, when I first started working for him, I don't know if you remember, they had those Krusty parties. There was they had a couple of video release parties back then for Krusty Demon movies and whatever else was like that. And I went to a Halloween party that was one of those were Halloween themed party, and I had this great big afro and porno shades and like a bluish velour suit. And yeah, he looks at me, he goes, "Holy shit, it's Disco Stew," because he's a Simpsons fan, right? And it stuck. Like it's been however many years and it hasn't gone away.
That's amazing. I love stories like that. Oh, here we go, kids.
Okay, is it okay? Sorry, one sec. Give it a rub. You'll be fine. Okay.
See, if I were to talk through that, it would have switched the video over to me, but I wanted everybody to see you chatting with your kids.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, their natives are getting restless. It's funny. They're 3 and 8. My daughter just turned 8. My son's will be 4 at the end of May. And I tell you, they go in 8 to 10 minute cycles. They go, they do their thing, and then you can watch your walk. Set your clock by it or your watch by it. Within 8 to 10 minutes, they're back. They need an up or they need something else, and then off they go. It's funny. It's working from home with the new business and being a full-time daddy daycare. You pull your hair out some days, but it's good. I like it.
Dirt bike kids, or what sports are they into?
They like soccer. They played soccer up here last year. And Paisley's in karate. Evan's a little too young for really anything yet. I'd like to get them into hockey next year. They're both pretty good skaters. And there's hockey, I think 40-ish minutes away, 40 minutes, half hour away. So we'll probably start them with that next year, now that we've been here a year. And this year we went through, or are still going through our recruit course for the fire department. So that's been super intense, a lot of studying, until the lockdown happened, a lot of weekend classes and training and stuff. So we kind of put everything on hold this winter to get our recruit course done. And then hopefully by the summer, we'll be clear of that and good to go. And we'll start doing stuff with them next winter, like normal.
Wait, what's that? What's that story there? What's going on there? I don't know that story.
Joined the local fire department last year, last April, and have been training um, at our local hall for a year. And then we started our NFPA 101, level 1 and level 2 firefighter course in January, beginning of January. So it's pretty gnarly. It's a good. It's been exciting, man. I could go on and on about it, but I believe things happen for a reason, and for me to step away from racing and that to be over was almost a blessing, because this is a challenge. Like, I'm excited about this, the fire service and the recruit course, because there's so much information to learn. There's so many things to stuff into your brain, and to be at my age and learn something new from the ground up and have the ceiling be, infinitely high. It's really cool. Every time we do something or learn something new or take a new training class, it's just super exciting.
Well, that's cool. And I think you hit on something that, I mean, I don't know, I kind of enjoy the whole philosophy of life and all that kind of stuff. And I think what happens as we get older, we stop learning things and life gets boring. It's so cool to keep learning, right? That's what keeps things going. I think that's important.
Yeah, one thing that drove us and me personally to the becoming part of the fire service. My brother's been a career firefighter for 12 years now, and he's damn good at it. He's passionate about it still to this day, and it is an opportunity for me. And this isn't loaded to oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. It's what I feel about it. It's an opportunity for me to do something for other people and be able to, put yourself on the line for other people, because the racing business is, and this isn't to categorize the whole thing into one thing, but you have to be a certain level of selfish to be successful in the racing business, because, whether it be the training, whether it be the testing time, the time away from home, you have to dedicate your whole life to doing that and to be successful at it. And this fire service opportunity is something in a way for me to now, okay, I'm going to do something for somebody else, till I'm too old to do it. So that's exciting. I've lost 20 pounds since December. We changed the way we eat. We're fit. We exercise almost daily, every other day for sure, just to be at that level of fitness that you need for it, because it's gnarly. It's really gnarly.
Yeah, it's funny. When we first started chatting there, I was gonna say, the camera's supposed to add 10 pounds, and you look like you've lost at least that. So it's kind of a weird, little different to see you like that, looking slim and fit.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's been a life changing. I don't want to get all weird about it, but it's been a life changing journey since December, when we started this course. I didn't want to be the old guy in the group that was lagging behind, and I'm in better shape, and I have more energy and feel better than I have since my 20s, probably, if I had to pinpoint it.
Nice, man. I've got a ton of friends who are firefighters and have been forever back in London. And every time I talk to them, I'm like, why isn't everybody a firefighter? I never catch them at work. They're always home.
Yeah, there's some not so nice things. I mean, I've believed this and believed in it since my brother started, and man, those guys do and see things that the average human probably wouldn't want to, maybe isn't equipped to, and they need the downtime. It's gnarly. It's not every day is like that, but yeah, there's some things that it's different, but
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I think a lot of things have changed too now that there are so many mobile ambulance places to get to. Because I know my buddies and their dads were obviously kind of like Moto. Their dads were firefighters as well and stuff. And a lot of times they were first on scene. I think that's changed a lot now with the different, all the different first responders stuff that are out there now.
Yeah, in our area, we're usually still the first to respond because we're pretty rural. And what that means for us is our hall is volunteer based. And so when, not to get too technical into it there, but when we get a 911 call, we're always usually the first to respond, whether it be medical, whether it be, structure fire, whatever it is. So and it's like that in most career areas too. Everyone goes depending on, what the call is, and then they do what they do based on the demands.
Yeah, did you happen to see that cycling video I put up right behind me here across there? It's all trails back here. So I was out there for like half an hour. Then I crossed Highway 12, went down a gravel road. and all of a sudden all these cars were flying by. I mean, it was volunteer firefighters, and I ended up at some crazy brush fire up there that had like a ton of guys working on it.
Oh yeah, those can get out of hand quickly.
Yeah, it was crazy. Okay, so now, well, let's move on to what. So you've left the racing side of things too, as a team manager guy and everything, the mechanic and stuff. Now AGR, we got the AGR Race Tech Suspension, man. How's that been going, and tell us a bit about that.
A year to open a new business. It's been there's been some lean months. For sure, which I'm not the only one. I mean, anyone that owns a business right now is cringing, but it's been great. We decided this time last year that this last season was probably going to be my last being involved with professional racing. Just an array of reasons. I won't go into it, too much right now there, but we had decided that, spring or summer 19 was going to be my last professional season. And, what's next? I sat up and laid down and thought and walked around. What am I going to do next? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I still love motorcycle racing. I still love the technical part of it. I still love everything about it. I just don't want to travel anymore. I don't want to be, under that whatever, a lot of pressure gets put on yourself by other people, whatever it is. I just don't want to deal with that anymore, but still love motorcycle racing. And I love the technical piece of suspension. I love working on suspension. And anyway, so I'm just like, well, if I can do it with a group that has notoriety, that's got great support, that has parts, that's got anything, someone owning a Honda touring bike or an XR50, that's what I want to work with. And there it is. They're one of the only groups that have all of that stuff to offer. So they were super receptive because of my relationship with them the last 2 years racing. And they were receptive to it, like I said, and we did the deal and put everything together. And they allowed me to become a Race Tech service center, which usually, hi Evan, sorry, one sec. What's up?
Can I bring my loader in?
Yeah, no, it's dirty. You play with
My
it.
toy loader.
Well,
My toy loader.
sure. You want to come and say hi? Come here. Come and say hi to Billy. You don't want to say hi? Okay. Anyway.
Well, because of that, Adam, because of that 15 seconds, I now have to check something off on YouTube to say that there are kids in it.
Oh. So anyway, it was the thought that I had about partnering with a group such as Race Tech worked out perfectly. If I had tried to do it on my own, I mean, there's been some guys that have done it on their own. They've been super successful and made it work. I just wasn't sure with everyone else doing it and how good at it they are. If I can't do it with a group like Race Tech, maybe I don't do it. But anyway, it worked out, and it's been great. They've been super supportive, really helpful with what they can do and helping me get off the ground and the marketing piece, all that good stuff. So.
Okay, well, let's say somebody wants to get their suspension done. What's the process, and are you still open? And how do they, let's sell some suspension for you here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm not open as it normally were. For a customer just to drive up and walk in, that stuff obviously isn't allowed anymore. But UPS delivers every day. So I work with them for pickup and delivery. They come by here every day, even though we are where we are. Best way to send stuff is, send me an email. The website is agrsuspension.com. There's my contact info on there, as well with Instagram at AGR Suspension. And shipping stuff in, I mean, if you're within, reasonable distance, it's really not that expensive. It's not, if you're going to drive stuff here from Barrie, it's probably cheaper to ship the stuff, in all honesty. You lose 2 days work. You got to pay all the fuel. It's probably easier and cheaper just to ship the stuff. And to further that, I did an arrangement with Bondi Engines. Chris and I have been friends for a really long time, worked together on different racing projects, and he's agreed to be a drop center for me. So if a customer from that area wants to get their suspension done by Race Tech and myself, they can drop their suspension to Bondi Engines, bring their bike in, and he'll ship stuff right from there, so they don't have to deal with any of that shipping nonsense. He'll have boxes
No,
and stuff,
tell
material.
people where Bondi. Tell people where Bondi Engines is.
He's in Innisfil, Ontario. Yeah, bondiengines.com is his website. So he's got all his contact info on there as well. So it's a good partnership. I mean, you know, for a customer looking to get a full meal deal package, engine, suspension, all that good stuff, you know, I don't know that in our area there's much of a better option.
Okay, cool. Hey, I have another question, kind of unrelated. What does the song "No Diggity" mean to you?
Oh boy, not too much until an old high school buddy of mine sent me this email. He's like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" I said, "I think you're crazy because I don't think it's going to sound very good." Was my response, but I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. So I played it over a few times, and I'm like, man, he might be onto something. So anyway, he did all the production work, paid for the production and studio time and all that good stuff, video, and it was fun. It was fun. It's a part of my life that I don't do too often. I played in bands and stuff in high school and jammed all the time and still play guitar. It's hanging on the wall of the living room, but yeah, it was a fun project. It was really cool.
I tell you, man, I've back in the day, I tried playing playing some guitar and stuff, just chords and things like that. But I like that idea of taking old hip hop songs and slowing them down, doing them acoustic. I always tried to do that. I love that. So if anybody's looking for the No Diggity, what is it? You say Socrates or the So Great? What do they call them? So Greats?
Greats, yeah, so greats.
So Greats, not Socrates.
It's on my my personal Instagram page. At what is that even? How bad is that? I don't even remember what my own is called. I don't go on it very often. I'm like a closet Instagrammer. I don't ever post, but I have it. At Adam Stu Robinson. So it's on there.
Now, is that the only song you did with them?
Yeah, he wanted to do another project last spring, but man, I didn't have the time. It takes, if you're going to do it, you can't half-ass something. So it takes hours and hours to go over it, be perfect at it, and have it sound good. And we moved here in March last year, and we undertook a huge renovation. Racing was getting going early with arena cross and testing, and I'm like, dude, I can't. I don't have the time because I can't do it right, so I just don't want to do it. So, yeah. But, yeah, maybe one day there'll be another little project coming along. It's fun. I really wish I had stuck with music. I don't know if I'd still be around today because there's a lot of other stuff that goes along with it. But I played in a few bands in high school and was pretty okay at it. But then I got hooked on the dirt bike thing, and it was, put the guitar down. So.
All right, man. Well, hey, I know we're going to start losing control of the kids. It must be either a late lunch or a snack time or something to do. You got to do there. But, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's kind of fun. We take a walk down memory lane. People get to know the guys in our industry, racers, industry people, and we hopefully, help promote some of your, Race Tech's always been really good for the past couple of years here with Direct Motocross. They are so cool to work with and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're a great bunch. Like I said, I'm super fortunate to have been able to link up with them, and man, they've got a great product. And that's not a sales pitch. I've worked on, what we'll call the front line of our business with that stuff, and we've won races. We've been successful at the gnarliest tracks ever, and that's why they felt like the relationship could work so well, because I've worked with that stuff on the front lines and made race day changes and just the stuff works. It's so good. And I know and understand the way our local tracks work. And it's just, it was a good partnership and relationship to have with them.
All right. Well, that's great, man. So it's agrsuspension.com to check it out. You're still open for business. You don't just walk in the door. You send stuff to you, maybe through Bondi Engines. And that kind of
people can ship stuff directly to me too. It's super easy. I can email shipping labels. I try to take, like a lot of guys do, try to take the shipping hassle out of it, because that's probably the biggest pain in the butt for people getting suspension done is the shipping. You know what I mean? Well, how long am I going to be without it? How much does it cost? Where do I get a box? Well, not everyone has a 48-inch long box laying around. So I've got all that stuff. You know what I mean? And we make it pretty easy. So. And
what's the least you could spend to get your stuff tuned up, and what's the most you could spend?
So my philosophy, and I don't like to say this out loud, but I say it often because it's true. You know, a cheap tattoo isn't good, and a good tattoo isn't cheap. It's the same thing holds true with suspension. You know what I mean? There's lots of good stuff out there for a reasonable price, and I feel like we're within that price point. There's lots of stuff that you can pay way less money for, and that's great because that's a target price point that people love, and maybe that's what fits into their budget, and that's great. I mean, we're kind of right in the middle. I feel like for a good set of suspension, brand new dirt bike, if the guy doesn't need springs, you send it in, you get the gold valves installed and set up for you, you're probably, you know, $800 to $1,200 with tax is what it usually costs. And in the suspension world, that's a pretty darn reasonable number to get quality stuff.
Okay. So the whole moral of the story is spend a lot of money on your tramp stamp. Is that what you're saying?
Ooh, that one was actually middle of the road, and maybe I should have spent a little bit more money or just not got it at all. But no, it's I don't know, it's a slippery slope and tricky deal because, you know, how do you tell somebody you got to spend $2,000 on your dirt bike to be able to ride it? You can't, you don't. You have, and customers know what they want. There's guys that want to spend, or not guys and girls, there's customers that want to spend, you know, they want to spend $500. Well, that's awesome. You can spend $500. You'll get a much better setup than stock is. You know, typically you can spend $2,000, and you know, a lot of these air spring forks, they need help, and it costs money to get that help. But once you do that and you get there, it's a night and day difference. So it's all relative to what, you know, what a person wants. I've had some, you know, comments, not just lately, but over the years of, whoa, my gosh, I can't believe it's that much. Well, you know, it's if you look at the industry as a whole, you're like I said, $800 to $1,200 right around that sweet spot for good suspension that you can, you know, trust, that's stable, that's safe, and is going to give you more performance than what you have stock.
All right. Well, hey, like I always tell people, especially if they've never had anything but stock suspension, save your money on your graphics, go out, spend a bit of money, is whatever you can afford, get the suspension done. Cause it is, like you say, it is night and day. It's not even it's the most important thing.
It is, it really is. I mean, good engines are great. You need them to get good starts. You need them to make the bike more rideable, but you know, good suspension, properly sprung, properly valved, and all that science that's behind the scenes put into your bike, it's going to be safer, you'll be more comfortable, and comfort usually equals speed. It's just all it's a snowball.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, how about we end it there? I appreciate you taking the time. It's lunchtime for me here too. Actually, we'll get this up, and I really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully hopefully you continue there and have some fun working away from home with the kids, and then maybe you'll be fighting fire soon, I guess.
Yeah, we got put into service in January, so we've had a couple of pretty good calls. A lot of smaller stuff lately, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting through the whole recruit process and getting going with it, and yeah, hopefully have a long career with that.
All right. Well, hey, again, thank you very much. Say hello to Sonia, and appreciate you taking the time, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully when the racing gets going again someday.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Billy. Hopefully you guys are staying safe, and everyone else watching, thanks for watching. You know, check out agrsuspension.com. If you need anything, I'm here. If it's just some information, if it's to get your suspension done, whatever, I'm always around and willing to help. So yeah, we'll chat with you guys soon.